What's up my bro, Tundrum here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be showing you my CEDH Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker Commander deck. Now this deck, it's super solid, it's definitely competitive. I wouldn't put it at the very top of competitive decks in terms of power, but I would say it is competitive enough to go into the CEDH category. It's a super solid deck. There are often infinite combos on as early as turn 3 and almost always combos off on turn 5. It's fun to play, easy to pilot, and just an all-round great deck, and it's not too expensive to build. So without further ado, let's get into the list by looking at the commander, Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker. He's a 5 mana, 2/2, legendary creature Goblin Shaman with haste, and he says tap to create a token that's a copy of target non-legendary creature. That token gains haste, sacrificed at the beginning of the next end step. Now Kiki Jiki is just a combo machine. He's just like a Splinter Twin on legs. He's just such a powerful card for combos. He combos off with so many different cards. I think there's about 80 cards he goes infinite within the game in total, which is super solid, and I think there's at least 12 of them in red, which most of them we are running. And so yeah, that's the commander. Without further ado, let's get into section 1, infinite combos. First up, we're running Splinter Twin, Zealous Conscripts, Combat Celebrant, Voodoo Bandit Warlord, and Helm of the Host. Now, Splinter Twin, it's very solid. It's just like Kiki, except you enchant it on a creature. It combos off with the Combat Celebrant and Zealous Conscripts. Zealous Conscripts here, it's very good. It combos off with Kiki and Splinter Twin, as when it enters, it untaps either Kiki or Splinter Twin, so they can make another copy of it, and infinitely loop free haste until you hit your enemy for lethal. Then you have Combat Celebrant, which combos off with Splinter Twin and Kiki, and Helm of the Host, which each of those combos give you infinite combat steps and infinite attacks. Infinite 4/1s attacking each combat, so you attack with 4/1, then 4/1, then 4/1 until they die. Then we've got Voodoo, who doesn't actually combo with Kiki or really anything by himself, but he does combo with Helm of the Host, and you essentially, just as soon as you play him, you have the combo online, because he just searches up for the Helm and then you put it straight into play. And then Helm of the Host combos with Combat Celebrant, like I said before, and Voodoo. All of these combos here insta-win. I know it's a bit confusing, but I don't really know how to list all the combos in a short video, or this video will be like 4 hours long. Next up, we're running Lightning Crafter, Battered Golem, Painter's Servant, Grindstone, and Jewelcaster Mage. Now, the Lightning Crafter, it's really solid. It combos off with Kiki. All you need is Kiki, and you need quite a bit of complex stacking, like play it, champion, kill itself, bring back Kiki, copy, kill itself. It's quite complicated, but in the end, it does give you infinite ETBs and leave the battlefields, and if you have a sacrifice outlet, it also gives you infinite damage. Then we have Battered Golem, which combos off with Splinter Twin, like we saw before, which you enchant Splinter Twin to it, and you infinitely create 3/2s and then swing for lethal. We then have Painter's Servant and Grindstone, which is a very solid combo that's worth running in any EDH deck that kills an enemy on turn 3, then the next one on turn 4, and then the last one on turn 5. And then we have Jewelcaster Mage, which combos off with Heat Shimmer and Twin Flame, which, as listed right here, are 2 cards that will you play the Twin Flame or the Heat Shimmer on the stack, targeting whatever, then you play Jewelcaster Mage, copy it, then you make the copy of the spell target Jewelcaster Mage, copying the Jewelcaster, then copying the original spell, and then infinitely loop until we have infinite 2/2s, which insta-wins. And those are most of the infinite combos. I have a few more I'm listing later in the video, just because you kind of need to show you other cards for them to be viable, but those are most of the infinite combos. There is only, I think 14 infinite combos in the deck, but 14, that's still a good chunk of the deck. That's still like a good 1/8, 9th of the deck, and because you need multiple cards, an 1/8, 9th of the deck, and with the amount of draw effects we have, you're almost certainly going to hit one very early on. Now we're on to section 2, card draw and ramp. First up, we've got a bunch of card draw effects: Wild Guess, Faithless Looting, Tormenting Voice, Magnetic Insight, and Frill of Possibility. The top 3, Wild Guess, Tormenting, and Frill of Possibility, all do the same thing. For 2 mana, you discard a card and draw 2 cards, which doesn't seem insane, but in this deck you'll just discard something you don't need for your combo, or an interaction piece you're not going to use, or a land if you've got lots of lands. and then draw 2. So they're essentially 2 mana, draw 2. Really help us filter through our deck extremely quickly and get our combos. Magmeta Insight, if anything, is even better because it's only 1 mana, and we're likely to draw a land off it anyway, so discarding a land, even if we sort of need it, isn't too bad. And then Faithless Looting is insane. 1 mana, being able to draw 2, and then the discard 2 is hardly a downside because, as you know, we're just sifting through our combos in most situations. And then plus it has the flashback for 3 mana, so we can do it all again on turn 3. Next up, we're running Merchant of the Veil, which can be a filter effect for 1 mana and then come in as a 2/3 for blocking to help us survive the early game and let us filter through our deck. Faithful Showdown, which lets us refresh our entire hand, drawing heaps of cards and deal with any threat or hit an enemy for a large chunk of damage. Seasoned Pyromancer, very powerful. It's a 2/2, often makes us 2 1/1s. We can exile it from our graveyard to make 1/1s, and it draws us cards and discards when it enters. Very good card. Then we're running Pirate's Pillage. It's a 4 mana sorcery. It discards a card to draw 2, which is already quite good. And then it also gets us 2 treasures, so we can most likely combo off the next turn. Then we've got Catharic Reunion, a very solid card. It's 2 mana and we do have to discard 2, but then we draw 3 off it. Even better than the other cards like Thrill of Possibility. Next up we have Sarkhan the Fireblood, Collective Defiance, Reforge the Soul, Wheel of Fortune, and Outpost Siege. Now Sarkhan, you're going, why are you running him? We're not in a dragon deck. Well, just the fact that he's got that +1 that lets us draw a card, discard and draw a card every turn on loop is very powerful, and it often sifts us through 3, 4, 5 or 6 cards, which is really good. The enemies, if they're going full out aggro, they're often going to be incentivized to attack him, so you're often almost with him on the field. It gains you a bit of life, distracts them off you if they're somehow aggroing you out on turn 3 or 4 before you can combo. And if he stays on the field protected for long enough, he can also be a win con on his own. He's actually quite good by himself, just in our deck for all the filter. Then we've got Collective Defiance, super solid card. It can hit the enemies for damage to help finish them off. It can deal with any major threat, and it can help us filter out a hand. It can also do all 3, or 2 if you have enough mana. Reforge the Soul, super solid card, makes all the players discard their hand then draw 7. This may benefit your enemies, but it's probably going to benefit us a lot more, and it has a miracle cost of 2, so we can also play it for a mere 2 mana if we draw it off the top of our deck. Then we have Wheel of Fortune, essentially Reforge the Soul, but only always cost 3, which is really solid. And then Outpost Siege, which is really good because that leave the battlefield thing helps us utilize infinite into the battlefield, as some of our combos just give us infinite into the battlefields without a sack outlet, for example, the Lightning Crafter Kiki combo. And it can also, if we're sifting in for a combo, it can also draw us an extra card each turn. Next up, we're running Runaway Steamkin to help us ramp into our creatures and let us combo off immediately. Bryad of Fire, which lets us get more and more mana. Turn 3 we get a mana, turn 4 we get 2 mana, turn 5 we get 3 mana to help us combo off earlier. Mindstone and Fire Diamond to help us combo off earlier and get Kiki in. And then Gamble, an insane red shooter. It searches for any card and puts it into our hand, which essentially just says we win the game if we have Kiki. But then we do have a little bit of a chance of losing it by discarding a card at random. But in most situations, this is just search your library for a card, which in this deck says as long as you have Kiki on the field, as soon as you play that card, you immediately win. Next up, we're running Soul Ring, Seething Song, Mana Geyser, Hazard's Monument, and Imperial Recruiter. Soul Ring, auto-included in most CEDH decks, must be included, ramps us into Kiki on turn 3, really solid. Seething Song, 3 mana adds 5, so it can let us get our Kiki out on turn 3 and combo off extremely early. Mana Geyser gives us heaps of mana if our enemies have tapped lands, so let's say we're on turn 5 and we have our combo in hand and Kiki, then we play this and we might get like 10 or 11 or 12 mana, and then we can play both of them off and combo off immediately. Imperial Recruiter, a 3 mana 1/1 that searches for any creature with power 2 or less, is insanely good, but the fact that Kiki, if we don't get that creature, if it gets countered, we can just tap Kiki to make another copy of the Recruiter to then get another creature with power 2 or less, so we still combo off. Super insane card, must include it. It is quite hefty price at $30 right now, but it is definitely worth the price and include one of the best cards in the deck. Then we're running Hazard's Monument, which ramps us into things like Kiki, making all our spells cost 1 less, and whenever we cast a creature spell, we get a filter a card, discard and draw, which is really solid. And that concludes section 2. Now we're on to section 3, alternate win cons and utility. So we're running some alternate win cons in case our combos with Kiki don't really work out, and a few utility cards to help interact with the enemies and slow them down. First up we have Goblin Matron and Goblin Recruiter and Goblin Sharpshooter. These are the Goblin Sharpshooter, I'll be honest, I just forgot to throw it in earlier in the video. But Goblin Matron and Goblin Recruiter, you'll be wondering, why are you running those? Those are just like Goblin Shooters, only good in Goblin decks. Well, in this deck, because we have our Lightning Crafter and the Goblin Sharpshooter, which both combo off with cards, we can then use the Matron and the Recruiter to search them and put them into a hand, so they're all essentially an extra copy of those two cards, which is really solid. You'll normally search up the Crafter, but if you have Splinter Twin, you often go for the Sharpshooter as well, which gives you infinite into the battlefields with it. Next up we have Chaos Warp, Vandal Blast, War's Toll, Lightning Greaves, and Lightning Bolt. Chaos Warp, really solid, can deal with any threat. Vandal Blast, it deals with all the artifacts enemies control, or just a single artifact if there's only one bothering you. Lightning Greaves gives Kiki Shroud or any of our combo pieces haste and Shroud. Lightning Bolt deals with any threats for a mere 1 mana. And War's Toll, just a really all-round devastating card for your enemies. Next up we're running Perforos, Impact Tremors, Ruination, Blood Moon, and Bonfire. Impact Tremors and Perforos both are good cards on their own, but help us utilise Infinite into the battlefield, and are just, really good cards, can get some damage through. Ruination destroys all non-basic lands. As we're probably only going to be running a few non-basic lands in this deck, Ruination is absolutely insane, and often in 4 or 5 colour or even 3 colour enemy decks, it will completely nuke their board and kill all their lands. Insane card. Blood Moon, just as good as Ruination, because it turns all non-basic lands into mountains permanently, and so all the enemy's non-basic lands now only tap for red, which you don't care about because you're already mono red and not running many non-basics, so it completely shuts down some decks. And if they're running 90% non-basics, then they're only going to be able to tap for red, and there is a very few red answers that can deal with a Blood Moon. Super solid card. And then we're running Bonfire of the Damned, which can be a one-sided board wipe to deal with any annoying enemy building up a big board state threatening to kill you, and absolutely nukes people if you're up against, let's say, a token build. Next up we have Inspiration, which is an 8 mana sorcery that untaps all creatures and gains control of them all, often just letting you immediately win the game on the spot. Lava Coil, it's a 2 mana sorcery that can deal with any creature and exile it, 2 mana for 4 damage, just helps us interact with the enemies a bit. Blasphemous Act, if the game gets too late and you still haven't comboed and they just keep countering your stuff, interacting with you, destroying all your stuff before you can manage to get the combo off if they have early counters, you can then later on, if the board gets too scary, Blasphemous Act to nuke the board. And then we're running Sword of Feast and Famine to protect our commanders, make stuff unblockable, let us untap our lands to get more mana. It's just an all-round great card. And then finally, my only recommendation from the mana base, the rest just fill in with mountains, is Cavern of Souls, as it makes your commander uncounterable. Now, if you have noticed, this deck is only 58 slots, not the full 63 like most people would use, but the last 5 slots you can really just fill in with whatever interaction you like to interact with the enemy, and any crazy red combos you may have found yourself. I just thought I included most of the very best ones, because janky, clunky 3 or 4 card combos that don't go off till turn 7 aren't really worth the include in a deck like this. And then the mana base, like I've been saying before, just throw in whatever you like. But really, I would just go with the Cavern of Souls, a bunch of mountains, and maybe like a Castle Embereth or something, just for the teeny upside. And yeah, guys, that concludes the video. Hope you enjoyed. If you want to see more from me, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, peace out.